Hey everyone, it's Jim T. Graham with rcgroups.com, and we've gone live. We haven't gone live in a long time, so I'm pretty excited. And I'm here with Mike Mayberry, a veteran of being interviewed by me, possibly thousands of times. Mike, what's happening?
Hey, I'm glad to be here, Jim. So my first live stream as well. So let's do it.
So tell us about your new team shirt. Are these shirts made
The
just for this
factory
2020?
factory pilot shirt. Yes.
Right.
So we always felt like we had the coolest team shirts in the business, and so this our latest version. So we kind of tweaked it up a little bit and went back to the nice mesh collared ones, and so we're excited about that. So look for our team guys out in the field wearing these new shirts.
And today we're going to talk about charger basics with Mike and go over some topics that you might want to know about if you're at a trade show. Maybe this is something you'd walk into a seminar and learn about. But before we do that, we were talking yesterday and you were talking about possible team membership applications and things like that. You want to go over that on the front end and just kind of throw that out there?
We're always looking for people to represent Hitec. So, if you feel you're somebody that gets out there, that is a fan of our products, using our products, looking to maybe show off your talents in a cool shirt like this, then shoot us a resume. Really it is about the people. It's we feel like we're a family, and so we're always looking for to have a bigger family.
Awesome. Now, to kick off with the charger basics, my first question, and there are a lot of things to know about a charger, and you're dealing with sometimes volatile batteries, so all of this is super important. But let's talk about wattage first. So school me on that. And while you do that, I'm going to go see if I can watch the live chat going on in the YouTube video.
So that's the big factor with knowing what charger you want and not kind of being stuck with something that you really didn't anticipate is to know how much wattage that the charger puts out. So the wattage is the key. So wattage is amps times volts. And then, subsequently it's the wattage divided by the voltage of the pack equals the maximum amperage that you're going to have. So the more watts, the bigger the pack, the more amperage that you'll be able to get. So if you look at the specs on the chargers, it'll say that they can charge 1 to 6 cells, up to say 10 amps, but it doesn't mean that they'll charge 6 cells at 10 amps. So you have to always calculate the wattage into the equation. So we offer different level chargers. So you need to kind of understand, at that point, the higher cell counts need higher wattage, so you can charge at the higher rates.
Gotcha. And so what almost everyone is using these days is lithium polymer batteries. I predate lithium polymer, and we'll talk about those batteries that predate lithium polymer. Mm-hmm. But so I always charge one to one, which I know is safe and old school, but how do I know what charge rate to use?
Well, so when you say 1 to 1, that would be what we would typically call 1C. So it's 1 times the capacity. So let's say you have a 5,000 milliamp battery. So that means that you would charge it at 5 amps. So 5 amps is 5,000 milliamps. So therefore, it would charge in about an hour, approximately. Depends on how dead the pack was when you started charging it. But that's the safest way to charge. And most packs, unless it says specifically, you have to charge at a certain rate, most packs you can charge at 1C. The higher C rating on the battery, the more hardy the pack is. So when you see, batteries that say 50C, 100C, that means how fast they can discharge. So those batteries normally can be charged at a little bit higher rate. I always recommend charging at 1C, but in the higher power batteries that have the higher C rates, you could go to 2C, get it charged a little bit quicker. Some of the RC car guys charge at ridiculous rates to get more power, but then again, you're kind of degrading the pack, over time. So that's a factor of it. The 1C is going to be the best way to go.
And with that said, I feel guilty if I don't balance while I'm charging. Should I be feeling guilty for not balancing every time I charge a LiPo?
Not necessarily. So what I always recommend is that you do connect the balance board. You can connect the balance board and you can monitor the cells. So if you monitor the cells and they're all within balance and you charge at the normal, just a regular standard charge, it's going to be fine. I mean, if you look and you see that the cells are, say, 0.02 or more out of balance, then you want to make sure you're using the balance mode. If you do balance charge every time, it's not a big deal either. So on the safe side, sure, balance charge every time. Do you have to? No, but you should monitor the pack to make sure that the cells are within 0.02 of each other.
And so finally, after you've done all your charging and it's winter time, and some people fly during the winter, but I usually don't. I would assume that's when I use storage mode.
And
let me guess.
You need to use more often than you think.
Oh.
So the batteries do not like to be fully charged sitting. And that's when, you can have the chemical reaction and create gases inside, and you get that dreaded puffed battery.
Yes.
So anytime the battery is fully charged and you're not going to use it, you could, even if you're not going to use it, if you say, hey, I don't have an idea, if you're going to use it the next day, maybe it's okay. But if you're not going to use that battery and it's fully charged, you need to put it in storage mode.
I didn't know that, Mike.
It's not for winter storage. Right. It's for having the battery. Now, a lot of times you'll discharge the battery, and it's better to have the battery be discharged sitting and not go into storage than have it be fully charged and not go into storage. So if it's fully charged and you're not going to use it, you don't know when you're going to use it, or you're not going to use it within the next, say, couple days, then just put it into storage. It's going to be the safest way. Sometimes it takes a while to do the storage charge, because if it's fully charged, you have to discharge the battery. And with the wattage that's available on the discharge side, it's not as high as the charge side. So it can take hours sometimes to discharge the battery. So if you have a fully charged battery, you're not going to use it, but maybe you can put it in your plane and run it up for a couple minutes, then that's going to pull the battery down a little bit more, and so you wouldn't have to have it on the storage discharge quite as long.
So the lesson there is fly your packs. If don't save your LiPos, fly the packs.
Fly your packs, and don't fly them to where they're dead. If you over discharge, then they don't like it either.
That's that. And they ship at about 375. Is that where you want to come down?
Yeah, about 3.7 to 3.9 is kind of that area at which storage is fine. 3.8, I believe, is what our cycle goes to. So anywhere in that range. But when you're discharging the batteries, under load they drop down a little bit more than when they're resting. So, but when you come in after it's charged, after you've flown the model, you should be looking at somewhere around 3.5 volts, as the maximum you want to, have them resting at once they're discharged. You never want to take them below 3 volts a cell, because that can damage the battery. You can get to the point where it's not going to come back, and you ruin your pack.
And before we get off the topic of lithium polymers, I found my rule is if it's puffed, it's out. I don't put it in a plane, because you're probably going to have a cell that's going to be weak and you're going to need it and it won't be there, or worse,
That's always good. I mean, you should always be more safe than sorry. Have I flown a puff battery? Yeah, sure. It's a little puff, throw it in there. Did it work? It worked. But it's not optimal, and it's definitely, not gonna stay around much longer after that. And you need to be careful when you're disposing of them too. So one of the ways that you can dispose of a battery is you can submerge it in salt water. So as you submerge it in salt water, the resistance in the water and the salt just absorbs the energy, and it will bring the battery all the way down to the point at which you can dispose of it properly.
Awesome. And that brings us to nickel metal and NiCad, which is kind of super old school. When I started, that's all we had. I mean, I flew every morning and my thing was to put my batteries over the heater vents. So by the time I got to the field, they were nice and warm.
Yeah.
But let's talk about charge rates on nickel metal and NiCads. And who
Well,
uses those? Are car guys using these
well,
things?
no, well, yeah. I mean, there's still, your receiver batteries, right? So a lot of
Right, right,
guys are
right.
still using receiver batteries with NiCad or nickel metal. Nickel metal is going to be the more popular battery nowadays. I mean, you have more capacity in the same size, but you also have more resistance. So you need to, be aware that the smaller cells don't like to be charged at higher rates. Again, 1C is normally acceptable on almost anything. Although some of the smaller, like AA size batteries and the 2,000 milliamp range, I normally charge those about half a C. So like 1 amp is about the maximum I want to charge, like a AA size NiCad or nickel metal hydride. And again, these are, you're charging them faster than they're really rated to be charged. So it's always best in most cases to slow charge those type of batteries, but you're looking to get them charged to go out in the field and use them. So one other thing that people tend to not think about is that the batteries do get warm. You're talking about the batteries getting warm. The batteries actually perform better when they're warm. So when they're charging, sometimes we'll get what we call a false peak. So the battery charger is looking for a peak voltage on the cells. And as that peak it reaches the peak, comes down the other side, it says, oh, the battery's charged, I'm going to shut off. Sometimes we get a false peak. And when you get a false peak, you may not know. It's just going to say your battery's charged, and you're like, all right, great, my battery's charged. Well, the key to knowing if your battery really is charged is the temperature. The battery should be significantly warm when it's charged. So if you go over, the charger says it's done, you're like, okay, great, it's done, and then you pull it off, put it in your plane, and it dies prematurely. That's because it false peaked. So a couple things you want to look for. Again, you're going to just put your hand on the pack and you'll be like, is this pack warm? If it's not warm, it's not charged. And if that's the case, just push the start button again and restart the cycle.
That was my question. Okay.
Yep. And if, and you'll also, with our chargers, you'll see how long it took, how much capacity went into it. So, use those as a measurement as well to say, all right, does this make sense? It only charged for 10 minutes. It only put in 100 milliamps. No, that's not right. So then it false peaks. So you want to make sure with NiCads and nickel metal hydrides that they are fully charged, they're warm to the touch, and they can significantly warm sometimes. Nickel metal hydrides can get up to like 135 degrees.
So before we move on, we have Eric in the live chat asking about chargers, and that is going to be a topic we're going over in this video. Now, what about discharging packs before charging them, which I don't think I've ever done?
So, with lithium batteries, definitely no. Nickel metals, if you remember, as pun here is, it's the memory of the battery, right?
Right.
Batteries develop a memory over time. NiCads were prone to having memories develop. So if you only use a certain amount of the pack, it then pretty much gave that to you. That's all you got. So cycling the battery or discharging it fully charging it, that's going to eliminate the memory in the NiCad batteries. Nickel metals, not so much. They don't really have the memory. So you really don't need to discharge them. But the NiCads, you do kind of need to at least cycle them on occasion to kind of help prevent that memory from developing.
Gotcha. And I know you can do that through a charger. And I remember at one time I had a thing full of little lights, and you plug your light stick into
the little
your
light
battery.
bulbs.
Right.
Yeah. The problem with that is that there's no shut off point. So it would bring them all the way down to like 0, which in some cases was okay. The car guys used to do that. But normally you don't want to take them down past about 0.9 volts per cell.
Gotcha. So at this point, do we want to talk about settings or jump into chargers?
Well, I mean, the settings in the charger, typically the defaults are you're gonna go with. There's a safety timer that is set at normally 120 minutes, so that's a 2-hour charge. So if you're gonna charge at a lower rate and that safety timer would kick in, then change that. Default setting for the capacity cutoff is 5,000 milliamps. I normally turn these off. When you could use them is that a lot of times people have talked about with lithium batteries especially is not fully charging the batteries to get longer life out of them. For RC batteries, I think I normally just recommend go ahead and fully charge the battery, but this would be a setting that you could use, or these two settings that you could use to actually undercharge the batteries if you wanted to keep the life in the pack and have them last thousands of cycles maybe. But in most cases, batteries die because they hit the ground. So
Right.
or you leave them charged or stuff like that. So but these would be settings that you could do that with. But mostly the default settings are going to be fine. So I really wouldn't worry about setting it except for maybe the capacity cutoff and the safety timer. But if you turn both of those off, the charger's going to do its thing, charge the batteries till they're full, and shut itself off.
Gotcha. Steve Wattenberg in the live chat says one way to discharge a battery is to eject it out of your toucan.
Yes,
So,
and surprisingly enough, if you eject it out of your toucan, you would think you would lose all power to the radio, but as the propeller continues to spin, it actually
what?
puts enough power back into the radio so that you can land the airplane.
That's not true.
So obviously he was at the NEAT fair
Okay.
one time when the battery ejected out of our toucan, and I flew it to the ground, and then got there and went, well, how could I have flown it to the ground?
Okay. That's some inside stuff. I didn't know we were going to get.
So as long as the prop was spinning, it was actually like putting power.
Really?
Like maybe the capacitors had power enough, but
Okay.
no battery in the plane. Flew it to the ground.
Wow. That's very interesting. Do we want to go take a look at some of our great chargers? I was going to use
absolutely. So one of the things I wanted to kind of touch on was, like what chargers do we recommend for the battery types that you're using? A lot of people just use smaller batteries like 2S to maybe 4S, and maybe up to like 2,500 milliamps, 3,000 milliamps. That bottom middle charger there is the RDX2 Mini, and what's nice about that is it has 2 ports. It has a XT60 connector built in, and then the XH balance plug built into it as well. So you actually don't need any extra devices. You don't need any extra connectors if you're using XT60, although we do include an adapter that goes to the Dean's type plug, the T-type connector. And you can plug in a balance board if you wanted to kind of extend it away from the charger. But this is a really nice unit. It's 100 watt total, so you've got 50 watts per port. So therefore, you can get about 4 amps or so out of a 4-cell pack. So you can charge most of the 2 to 4 cell packs at 1C and maybe a little bit higher.
Awesome.
And then, some of the little bit bigger batteries where you've got, more capacity, say 5,000 milliamps, maybe even up to like 6S. The X2 there in the middle, the X2 Black Edition, that's right in the middle. There you go. So the X2 Black Edition, that's a 100 watt total charger, but you can skew the wattage between the ports. So say you got a bigger battery in one port, a smaller one in the other, you could skew the wattage so you could get the higher charge rate on one side. You could even put all 100 watts on one side to get close to a 5 amp charge rate on a 6S pack. This one actually has Bluetooth built in. We have a app that you can get on your phone, either Android or iPhone, and you can monitor your packs. You can also have a QR code that you can print out and put on your pack, and then you scan the battery, and it puts in the preset settings that you've set for this battery and just starts charging it, and then you can monitor it on your phone as you go.
That is crazy.
Same with the X4, which is above it there. and the X4 is kind of two X2s essentially. So the X4 has 200 watts total on AC power. It actually has 300 watts on DC power, so you can get 100 watts per port on two of the ports, and then 50 per port on the other two in DC mode. Or you can get 200 watts. Again, it's actually like you split 100 watts between two of the ports. So like A and C split 100, and B and D split 100. So if you need more wattage, you could have two 100-watt ports. You could have four 50-watt ports. You can skew it as you see fit. And again, this has the Bluetooth built in, and the app would you can use the app with it as well. For the bigger batteries now, we just came out with a new charger, which is the RDX2 Pro. So the RDX2 Pro is ideal for charging like 6S. It has 130 watts dedicated per port on AC power, and it'll go up to 14 amps. So for the car guys charging the 2S packs, they can charge up to 14 amps. You can get on a 4S pack, you can charge up to, I believe, like 9 amps. So the bigger packs, the 5,000, 6,000s, for the 4S, 6S on some of these bigger models, you can charge at 1C. So you can get two 6S packs charged in about an hour.
Awesome.
Yeah, this has a optional Bluetooth module that you can get the app and do all that stuff that I mentioned before, as far as the QR code and monitoring your packs and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool. The phone app is pretty neat, and you can do all the settings on there. And again, it's Bluetooth, so it doesn't have huge range, although it's the latest Bluetooth, so it actually is pretty decent. But you don't want to be leaving your chargers, all by their lonesome while they're charging, your LiPo batteries anyway.
And one thing I'll say, it sounds like I'm promoting you, but I've owned a lot of Hitec chargers in my day, and I don't think I've ever had one go down on me. I have a drawer full of chargers, and then I have my two main chargers that I can charge, 8 batteries at one time. And they're all Hitecs, and they've always been reliable. So
well, that's good to hear. That's good to hear. But if there is a problem, obviously we pride ourselves on our service. So send it in, and in most cases, we're just going to either repair or replace it. If it's something where it's way outside of warranty or something like that, we'll give you options. But we're here to help.
So Eric asked, can nickel metal be charged in series in a good fashion? So I guess the question is, can you charge nickel metal in series?
Well, nickel batteries are almost always in series. So you have, let's say you have a 4-cell, pack. It's going to all be wired up in series. So if you wanted to then charge multiple packs, if that's the question, I really don't like charging multiple packs as if they're one, because there can be too many potential for problems if the packs aren't exactly the same voltage when you start. There's kind of been a big thing about parallel charging, and those are things that I normally discourage people from doing. The smaller batteries, the 1S batteries and stuff like that, there's boards that people connect them to, provided that those boards are working properly. The batteries are about the same voltage when they go in, then obviously people are doing it. But anytime you would want to charge multiple packs as if it were one, I kind of discourage people from doing that.
Gotcha. Well, this has been our charger basics. I want to urge you, if you're watching this right now, because we have some live viewers on, be sure to go to RC Groups and look at the very top, and you'll see the Hitec section. You can go in there, and we're having a great giveaway right now. This is limited time only. I was talking to Mike about the hats, and I'm about to go in there and make a little announcement about that. So they're giving away hats. At the end of the month, they're giving away a charger. And then, Mike, I don't know if you and I spoke. You had such a cavalcade of things to give away that I had a high-level meeting, and we will be giving away products from Hitec for, I got to think, almost the whole year. Every month, we're going to have a new contest.
Well, let's just share the wealth here. So we love participating in these events with you, Jim, and RC groups, and the other companies related as well and stuff. So anytime that we can do something and have some promotion and get some goodies in the users' hands. We don't get out to the events as much as we used to. Obviously this last year has been crazy. The shows are gone away. So thank you for putting on something like this. And we're happy to be able to participate and spread the love.
So go and look at look at the forum section. Be sure to enter the contest. And the last thing I want to talk about is I just created a new section in our group called servos. So we broke servos out from the radio section. So you can now, if you're a servo aficionado, you can go in there and learn all about servos. Check it all out. Mike, I sure appreciate your time, especially on a Friday, sharing all your knowledge with everyone.
Absolutely. Not a problem. Really enjoyed it. And looking forward to, maybe the next interview. We'll have to figure something out.
All right. Go to hitecrcd.com to check these chargers out we were looking at. Also, I'll turn this into a feature that'll be on rcgroups.com, so you can find it there. Have a great weekend. I'm Jim T. Graham with rcgroups.com.